Well, hello. First of all, yeah, it's alright. I knew what you meant by your video. It's recommended by most sources. Uh, Sanguinarius. Yes. To name one specifically, suggests that you establish mental stability by, having a psych exam or something of the sort before practicing any sort of magic or metaphysical stuff, since, quite understandably, something like, narcolepsy or schizophrenia would really get kind of confusing for someone in that situation. Second thing, it wasn't as if anything negative happened with the community or the vampire scene. It was actually really fun. I had a few close friends in college that we also believed were Psys, and a couple who we thought weren't, who we'd all just, practice, manipulating Psi and different skills involved. But that wasn't really any part of the issue. It was more of just a disillusionment with the whole metaphysical, with the metaphysical anything, really. It pretty much just kind of ended with, just a downward slide and just becoming less and less interested in it until I hit this epiphany moment where it's just, I see now. It wasn't real, that sort of thing. One of the main things I meant by recreating it with my mind, I can go into a little more detail. It's when I fed on someone, I found it always created a specific sensation. Like, they say visualization is the key to manipulating Psi, and the stronger the visualization, the stronger the manipulation, and the stronger the resulting sensation. But well, my friends could all tell when I was feeding on them, or at least most of the time, but the details surrounding that are dubious at best. And I found that I could recreate this feeding sensation that I had learned to associate with the act when I was in the presence of no actual source of Psi or life force. Now, if this sensation is supposed to come from, a living being, something that actually generates and contains that essence, it shouldn't be coming from, inanimate objects or the environment, when there's nothing around you that actually should contain, I guess you could say, contain Psi or prana, whatever you would call it. And it struck me as something wrong with it. And then around the same time, I had begun learning a little bit more about the mind, and part of that being the power of the placebo effect. And I mean, I started reasoning that if these sensations can be created entirely within the mind, then where's the evidence that it was ever something that wasn't entirely in my mind? Like, where's the actual evidence that it was real in the first place? At around the same time, I'd started working to disprove Christianity, because I had recently fallen out with that, which, but I found a lot of the arguments against Christian mysticism and the whole idea of miracles and all that bullshit, found they worked rather well against anything to do with the supernatural, though I tried to deny it at first. And I started realizing and understanding the importance of the scientific method objective evidence, and Occam's razor, most importantly. Occam's razor is a fantastic tool for skepticism, where the simplest explanation is usually correct, and of course it's implied that the simplest natural explanation is usually the correct one, and is the default assumption, essentially, because you can't really test and confirm the supernatural. So, essentially, well, yeah, that's part of that. But another important phrase I took with me that I don't remember where I found it originally, but it stuck with me, is reality is that which, when you stop believing in it, doesn't go away. And I found that when I stopped believing in, vampirism and the supernatural, the symptoms of not feeding went away. And so did pretty much every sensation that I had learned to associate with it. Now, I could probably rattle off a list, probably a pretty big list of symptoms that you feel when you don't feed, because you've probably read a lot of the same things I have. But what strikes me is that many of these symptoms I hadn't experienced until after I had read about them. And a lot of the other ones could be perfectly explained by natural medical causes, like especially the whole depression thing. Since when you feed and you suddenly feel better, it could just as well be a psychosomatic thing. It's like, ooh, I fed, so now I feel better. Because, you want to. You expect that to be the result. And I think it just becomes more of a twisted version of med school syndrome, where, I have this, and this symptom, therefore I must be X, like, a vampire, or whatever. And so, essentially, I just decided that it was just easier and less confusing to just go with it's not real. Because, first of all, everything's simpler, and reality itself is interesting enough without trying to hinder my understanding, really, by assigning supernatural causes to natural events. I'd rather figure out what's really going on rather than just saying it's a ghost or something similar. But anyways, yeah, just if you have any more questions, get back to me, and obviously I'm going to reply. So yeah.